everyone, and welcome to another Facebook Live. We are back and better than ever. It is our August 23 edition. We were on summer hiatus during July, so it's been a couple months since we've seen you, but I hope everyone has enjoyed a wonderful summer. And it's so good to have Katie from North Carolina and Melanie from Richmond, Virginia, and Michael from here in Frisco, North Texas, and let's see, Connors from West Texas and Lubbock and Sunshine in Dallas, people from all over the place. Let's see, JR in Newport Beach. I'm from Orange County as well. Awesome to have you here. If you've been with us before, know that we start all of our programs, both virtual and on campus, with a land acknowledgement. So I want to start with that. We respectfully acknowledge all Native American peoples who have lived on this land since time immemorial. TCU especially acknowledges and pays respect to the Wichita and affiliated tribes upon whose historical homeland our university is located. And as I like to say, if you haven't seen the monument that is dedicated to the Wichita and affiliated tribes, it is located right between Reed Hall and Jarvis Hall, centrally located here at TCU. So the next time you're here, please go visit that. Okay, we have a fantastic program planned for you tonight. If you've been with us before, you know the format. It's unscripted. I don't know I don't even know what I'm going to say next, let alone what's going to happen for the next 58 minutes. So that keeps it really exciting. I'm going to talk for just a couple of minutes. I'm going to have my esteemed colleagues here introduce themselves in a minute, and they'll say a few words, and then we're going to get to your questions. So please start asking questions. We have 4 current living, breathing TCU students here with us tonight, and we would love for you to ask them questions about what their student experience has been like. That's really the focus of today. Of course, we know the application for admission for the fall 24 semester just opened yesterday, August 1st. Today's the 2nd, so I know there's a lot of excitement and anticipation about that. If you're not already aware, there are 4 application platforms that TCU uses. We have our own application located on our website. There's the Common application, the Coalition, as well as Apply Texas. And you can use any one of those 4. You're not at an advantage or a disadvantage using one over the other. Whichever one you want to use, whatever's going to allow you to put your best foot forward, that's what you should choose. We have going on right now a contest, an application contest. You may be aware that TCU is currently celebrating its sesquicentennial. That means 150th anniversary. If you didn't know that before, you've learned something tonight, sesquicentennial. And for the 150th applicant to TCU, you're going to get a pair of brand new, awesome purple Nikes that will be the same Nikes that our athletic department uses. So very sweet get-ups. You're going to want those. So if you haven't yet submitted an application, go ahead and do that now. I mean, not now because you're looking at this now, but maybe like in an hour, go ahead and do that. Okay, so again, go ahead and pop your questions into the comments. We'll get to as many as we can over the course of the next hour. We're talking about student experience. If we veer into other aspects of admission, that's okay too. Want to also thank 2 people who are working behind the scenes. You don't see them, but they're working right now. Rob Berline from Alumni Relations and Liz Rainwater here in the Office of Admission. They are fabulous, and they're making this thing go, really. Okay, with that, I would love to throw it to our panel of students to give a brief introduction of themselves. And just based on the order of how you appear on my screen, I'm going to start with Stone. What's going on, Stone? How you doing?
Great. I'm good. I'm hot. Yeah, you didn't already say it. My name is Stone. I'm a rising senior this fall. That's really scary to say. I'm from Houston, Texas. Originally, I'm an astrophysics major here at TCU. I'm also in our marching band, the biggest student org on campus. Always got to plug it. Yeah, excited to be here.
Very cool. Okay, Emmy, why don't you go next?
Hi guys, I'm Emmy. I'm a rising junior political science major on the pre-law track from Southern California. I'm involved in our TCU Honors College and pre-law society. So if y'all have any questions about that, feel free to ask.
Yeah, I love that we have the Southern California connection, Emmy. Okay, Ed, you're next.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Iyad Lashish, and I'm a rising sophomore here at TCU. I'm double major in pre-business and computer science. So if y'all have any questions about those two, let me know.
Awesome. Adrian, last but not least.
Hello, everybody. My name is Adrian Carson. I'll be a rising sophomore this year, and I'm a graphic design major, and I'm also from Fort Worth, Texas.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to start. We asked people ahead of time for questions on socials, and Laurel asked on Instagram, "What's your favorite tradition at TCU?" We have lots of traditions here. This is a tradition-laden institution, and so. Anyone feel free to jump in. I'd love to hear all y'all's answers on this. What's your favorite tradition here?
I always tell people on my tours, I literally had someone ask me this today. It's the Riff Ram chant. If you're unfamiliar, they laughed. We have a chant that means nothing at all. The words are nonsensical. There is no meaning. It is really fun, but mostly because other schools think it is not so cool. And on Twitter, really often you see people get really angry and be like, what does it mean? It's so dumb, which just makes it really fun when you have an undefeated football season and you get to scream that after every touchdown, the whole chant all the way through. And so it gets really, really fun when we have a good season to annoy people online with our silly little chant.
Yes, that is the ultimate goal, I think, winning on socials. Let's see, who else? Who's next? Favorite tradition?
A tradition I really enjoy was Frog Sock. So it's like a music festival / carnival thing that they have at the end of the semester. And so I actually signed up my mariachi group to perform at Frog Sock. And so there was a lot of people that came out to see us because, we were posting it all on Instagram. And I also just got to bond with all my other members because they had carnival type of stuff, like the little wax molds, food trucks, all that type of stuff. So I'm really excited to do Frog Sock again next year.
Awesome.
Hi, Mom.
Love it. Ian, what about you?
Right, for me, it's pretty easy to pick. I would definitely say it's going to be the Horned Frog statue, rubbing the nose every time I walk past it. I feel like it's brought me so much luck over the past few months, and especially in the past month. I tell everyone this on my tours, basically, and Emmy's actually my witness right there. Pretty much I rubbed the nose, and then an hour later I had a job interview, and then I got the job on the spot. So I'm not saying that, but it's definitely a guarantee right there.
Hey, that's pretty good. Do you use it for before tests that you take?
Oh yeah, alongside a lot of studying.
Very nice.
Those two are a strong combination, I would say.
I love that. By the way, I don't know if you saw that comment. You had Charles Thomas Reed said that had a great time touring with you. So nice job. Very well done.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. And then my favorite TCU tradition is the Christmas tree lighting. We do it every November, and it's so much fun. People from the Fort Worth community will come to campus, and we light up this huge Christmas tree. And then there's a 30 to 45-minute fireworks show after. There's always fireworks happening at TCU, so it's always really fun.
That's awesome. Okay. I would love to ask you about are these all your family or friends who are
yeah.
That would be my girlfriend's family, actually.
Oh, so sweet.
That's awesome. Okay, that says a lot about your relationship. Very good. Very good. Okay, so we're not really big. I personally am not really big on rankings, except for when they make us look good. And the Princeton Review says that we have the number 2 best dorms in the country. I would love to know about y'all's perspectives on the housing at TCU. What has been your experience living in the residence halls?
I can start. I lived in Milton Daniel my freshman year, which is one of our communal first-year dorms. It's also our honors dorm, and I absolutely loved it. I made a lot of friends through living there. Everyone's super friendly, and each dorm will do different events every month. So there's always fun opportunities to meet the people you're living with and connect with your RAs, which is really fun. But yeah, I loved living in the dorms at TCU, and I'm sad to have moved off campus this year.
I know. Well, and I just want to continue on that along those lines about moving off campus, because I think sometimes that can be a misnomer. People think moving off campus might mean you're 10 miles away. How close are you to your classes being off campus?
I'm about like a 5-minute drive from campus, so I'm super close. I know a lot of my friends live walking distance because of TCU's location in Fort Worth. It's in a bunch of residential areas, so there are definitely options that are walkable from campus, which is great. But I'm just a short drive, so.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Okay, what about anybody else who's talking about their campus experience? Adrian?
I actually have had a really great experience with housing. I lived in PE Clark this like my first year, and so that one it has like the hybrid suite style dorms. There's 5 of us in one dorm, kind of like there was 2 rooms. One was a double, one's a triple. We had like a shared living room, shared bathroom. I really enjoyed it because I really got to meet other people, like not just having one roommate, but having other people to get to know. And also in that picture, it is in North Hills Village. So shout out to P. Clark. And then I love my housing experience so much that I actually decided to become an RA. So I start training this Friday. And so that will be pretty exciting. And I'll be back in PE Clark and just giving back to my PE Clark community. And I had really amazing RA. Like I actually met her before I moved in. Like I caught her walking around on campus and like she was super friendly. And I think she really helped me out like throughout the school year, just kind of navigating everything like school, social life, and I just kind of want to be able to do the same thing for incoming freshmen. So.
You said caught her walking around campus. What I heard was stalked her. I don't know. Maybe that was just.
Yeah, I found her. And, I was like, hey, I just have this telekinesis. I just knew it.
That's really great that you're giving back to the university community in that way. Well done. Stone, what about you?
I'm sometimes considered spoiled. I lived in the suites both 2 years I was on campus. I was in Samuelson and then Wright. So I always had my own private room. I often argue with other tour guides how they say they think communal living made them so connected to their community and they love all their people. I loved my dorm. Me and my roommates who lived together as freshmen are still roommates 4 years later. We have a house off campus now. And I think part of the reason we're still friends is because when we were driving each other nuts, I could go to my room and shut the door, which was awesome. But like Amy said, I regret moving off campus. I really, really miss living on campus. But even right now from this house, if I walked outside, you can see the music center from my driveway. So it's like walkable.
That's perfect for you. Is it possible that one of the reasons you were driving your roommates nuts is because of the instrument you were playing in the dorm room?
I made it a point to never, ever practice a single time when I was home, but I'm sure there's other reasons.
Nice. Ian, where have you lived?
So I'd say I'm definitely amongst the lucky ones as well. Same as Stone, I actually lived in the same car community, specifically in Samuelson. And I would definitely say that I was lucky to have a double, basically. So I had a single room. Then my roommate, who was Roberto, basically he had his own room as well. And then we shared the bathroom in a small communal space. And I would say that was the ideal living situation for me, at least, just because I got to connect with my roommates so much over the months. And we've learned a lot from each other during that experience, basically, or during the duration in which we lived together. And we're honestly still best friends until this day. So I'm very excited to see him again whenever he moves in this year.
Awesome.
Well, I'll always say that I worked as a desk assistant as well between Samuelson and Carter. And that kind of put me in a good position to get to meet all the community and kind of connect with everyone within it. And I would say that campus involvement is huge, especially when it comes to your residence or dorms, just because it kind of like allows you to meet people and then get to know them. And hopefully those will flourish into lasting relationship or friendships rather.
Nice. Okay, I want to go to a question that Anaya asked on Instagram. It's a little bit technical. It says tell something about international applicants and the application process. So Ian, I want to throw this to you. We may have international students who are either watching live or will see this on YouTube later. What advice might you give to international students who are thinking about applying to TCU?
So I would say the application process for TCU is pretty standard. So everyone goes through the same process kind of, but I know that as an international student, there's always those challenges that kind of come up. And the one way that I overcame those is definitely by connecting with my admissions counselor at TCU. Here at TCU, we do pretty much assign each student or applicant basically an admissions counselor, and that individual is pretty much responsible for answering your questions, kind of helping you throughout the process and explaining explaining how the process works. And they'll pretty much connect you with opportunities, financial aid opportunities, other opportunities basically that arise. And honestly, that helped me a lot during the process and kind of like showed me or gave me a good impression basically about TCU. Even before I submitted my application, which was nice. Shout out to Miss Karen Scott, by the way. She was my admissions counselor.
Karen Scott is amazing. Yes, I think the for international students, the process is fairly straightforward, and it's going to contain the same application elements as it would for domestic students or American students living abroad. There does need to be a demonstration of English proficiency if the language of instruction is not English at the school where the high school where the student attends, and we allow students to submit either TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo for English proficiency. But aside from that, we're looking for the same qualities in an international student that we would look for in a U.S. student. Okay, let's see. So Garcia Leslie on Instagram asked, when can I start applying to work study? And the answer to that is, as a current TCU student, you can look anytime. For incoming students, Frog Jobs over Handshake, which is the platform that we use, opens the first day of class for incoming students. So that's coming up real soon. But that leads me to a question to y'all, which is about jobs. Let's start with jobs on campus. So all of you work, with the Office of Admission, which is great. Can you talk about the process for getting that job or any other job you've had on campus?
Yeah, I actually used the Handshake website. So I searched for different jobs on there based off of criteria that I was looking for. And so you kind of get to browse through the different options and read little descriptions about what they are, and then apply for them through that. So it was very easy, very great way to apply for jobs and look for them on campus. So that's how I got my job in admissions.
Yeah, everyone else had a pretty similar experience?
Yeah, I went through Handshake, applied, and then Larissa called me in for an interview. I interviewed, and then they hired me. Pretty easy job process.
Yeah.
Easy job process. What about the job? Is the job easy?
Yeah. Well, no. Okay, let me rephrase that. It makes it easy because we enjoy what we do.
Oh
Right?
man, that was so good. What a great pivot.
And we have great bosses and coworkers.
Right. We have if we didn't like the job, we wouldn't be there for the summer, And so we do have amazing bosses and just, even coworkers, I guess, in the admissions office, which keeps us there and keeps us us returning to the admissions office. And I think everyone there is very different, but similar in the way that they're super, super friendly and, want to talk to everybody. That's the only reason why I said the job is easy, because we like doing it. If we didn't like doing it, then it would be hard. But we all enjoy, helping people and just, connecting with others. So.
We make
Fair
it easy.
enough. Love it. What about other job experiences, either on or off campus?
So I've had the privilege basically of working multiple jobs on campus. I've done I work at IT currently as well. Pretty much I work for the football videography team as well. And I've worked for the residents last year basically. And I would say that each job that I've had so far, I've had a different way of getting it. But I would definitely say that Handshake is definitely the most straightforward way to pretty much find all the listings that TCU has. And I've had a lot of friends of mine who got their campus jobs basically through Handshake. But there's also multiple other ways in which you can actually find a job on campus. Anything from, if you're willing to take the initiative, you can approach whichever office you're interested in working within. Then you can actually just ask them for a job, and then they might have offerings that are not available on Handshake. So they'll propose that to you. My residence job, for example, I remember there was an email that was sent out to all the incoming freshmen about pretty much the housing department needing desk assistance. And I just responded to that email basically, and it ended up pretty much filling up a form. And that's how I got an interview later on, and pretty much got hired even before I made it to campus. So pretty much before I flew into campus, I had a campus job lined up. And yeah, pretty much a lot of other ways you can get jobs around campus. You can even become a TA by approaching your favorite professor during their favorite course or during your favorite course, and ask them if they need help grading tests, so on and so forth. And there you go, another way.
Yeah, I don't know if we're counting it as a job. I've had offers for paid research since I was a freshman. which I guess is work, but it's not done through like frog jobs. And always, like I tell people on tours, the marching band gets paid. That's definitely work. Always got to plug that one.
It's true. Stone, you and I were just talking about this the other day. I don't think that, first of all, that's not very common. Other colleges don't do that. And I think if there are any high school students who are watching who are currently in marching band, how draining that can be, how exhausting, how time consuming. What you probably don't realize is it's actually less time consuming in college than it is in high school. So we meet students all the time who are like, yeah, I've loved it, but I'm sort of burnt out. And we're like, no, you should do it because it's not as much time. And like you said, we pay you for it. You don't have to be a music major. You get to go to all the games, and including road games and bowl games and like
a national championship.
And national championships. Yeah, it's a pretty sweet gig. So thank you for plugging that. Finn asks, and this is a really good segue, can you talk about internships? So have any of you had internships, things that are going on perhaps off campus that are related to what you're studying in school or what you're planning to do after you graduate? So Ed, you were enthusiastically responding to that question.
So I just finished my freshman year, so I did not get the opportunity to apply to internships yet, but I'm currently in the process basically of actively seeking internships. And I would say that I will definitely be going through TCU's careers office. So we do have an office that kind of assists you with connecting with those important internships. And I would definitely say thanks to TCU's extensive network, it makes it even easier for us to find those opportunities. We do have a lot of alumni that do appreciate quality of education that we have here at TCU, and they put a lot of trust in the current students. So pretty much they end up offering us internships and even more opportunities. So hopefully I'll update y'all next year with the internship I get.
Nice. Emmy, it looked like you were going to respond too.
Yeah, I had an off-campus internship last fall semester. It was through a connection I made actually through the admissions office. One of my coworkers who was a senior at the time connected me with a local Fort Worth DA campaign. And so I got to work on that, which was really cool to do as a sophomore, especially because it applies to my major, which is political science. So it was cool to see kind of like the background of what that would look like and to get to work with professionals in the field I want to go into. But again, like Ed was saying, it's so easy to like make those connections through TCU. There's just like great networking from current students or from alum as well.
Awesome. Okay. We're going to pause here for a second. You may be aware that we do something every month with our Facebook Live. We do dad jokes. Okay. So I've got a joke. I'm going to ask a question. We'll see who. This is going to be fun because there are 4 of you. So whoever gets the answer right gets bragging rights. All right. So put your competitive hat on for a second. Are you all ready? Okay, good. Why can't you hear a pterodactyl going to the bathroom?
The P is silent.
Very good, Stone. Very good. Okay.
Way too fast, Stone.
Yeah. I think you knew that a little too easily.
He is a dad.
We need a second joke now.
What's that?
That was too easy. We need the second one now.
We'll get to a second one in a few minutes. How about that?
Appreciate that.
Okay. So Adele asks, how do you go about having 2 majors in 2 different schools? Are any of you double major, double degree? I can't remember. Okay. Yeah. So talk about that.
So I would definitely say that TCU puts in a lot of effort to enable you to double major or at least major and minor. There's a lot of incentives. You'll notice that professors as well are very understanding and they're more than willing to work around your schedule and to kind of enable you to excel in each class. And that combination of things basically allows you to easily double major. And especially with the right time management, you can actually kind of bounce around all your classes and still have time for your social life, to work, so on and so forth. And one more thing I'll definitely say is with double majoring, there's something called double dipping. There you go. I was trying to remember the term. So you can actually double dip by enrolling for certain classes that will fulfill different requirements within your major and your core at TCU. And that kind of like earns you some time and enables you to need less classes basically to fulfill all your requirements. And that kind of will enable you in the long run to graduate within 4 years. still have plenty of time on your hands to do other amazing things within TCU, and then, get the 2 degrees.
Yeah. And then to answer your second question, Adele, when you apply for admission to the university, you're going to select a single major. And that's the major you're coming in as. And then you would add a second major once you're at TCU. So that's just sort of operationally how that all works. Okay. Let's see. JR asks, coming from Southern California, what has been a major change living in Texas and attending TCU? So, Emmy, you could take that one first as somebody who's coming from Southern California. What's been a change moving to Texas? And then anyone else can answer this too.
I think the weather was the first thing. Southern California is very dry and it does not get as hot as it does here in Texas. So right now it's like 107 degrees and it's super humid, which I was not used to back in California. And then I think another thing that really surprised me was how like real Southern hospitality is. Everyone here is so friendly and nice, and it was just very true to the stereotype. So I think I've seen both of those very much at TCU. But yeah, the weather in early August and in the summer is pretty hot compared to California.
Yeah, in case anyone thinks that Emmy's exaggerating, it literally says 105 on my phone.
So hot.
So yeah, it's pretty warm today. Ed, what about you transitioning here?
Ooh, I would definitely say that Southern culture was definitely interesting. The stockyards was honestly a great sight to see for the first time. Seeing the cattle show was honestly like transforming from my experience, at least. That's probably the turning point where I started wanting to wear boots for daily, as a daily driver, basically. And hopefully, we'll end up picking up some for this fall season. So every home game, I'll be definitely rocking the boots.
Oh, love it. That's so great. Really embracing the culture. Okay. Very, very nice. Now you all talked about this sort of this culture of friendliness that if you're not from Texas, it almost could come across as like fake. Like, are people really like this? And then all you have to do is spend a couple weeks here and you're like, nope, that's just how people are, which is really awesome. One of the things that I love about TCU is how happy our students are. And, we sort of think about, it seems like anecdotally that people are super happy, but we actually have a study that proves this. Resume.io put out this study about 3 or 4 months ago. And what they did was using AI, they looked at students' Instagram feeds from colleges all over. And based on the shape of people's smiles, they could tell that TCU students were the number one happiest students in the world. And what's cool is if we isolate to U.S. colleges, the delta between us and the number 2 school was actually bigger than the difference between number 2 and number 10. That's how much happier our students are than students anywhere else. So my question to you all is, can you corroborate that? Does it strike you? And we know that not everybody's happy all the time. Like that's just a part of that's a social media cultivation thing. But does it strike you as you're walking around? Are students here generally happy?
I have a great story for this.
Okay.
Adrian, you go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, I knew when I was applying to college and wherever it was that I was going to go, I wanted to go somewhere where they had lots of spirit, lots of school pride, like they're proud to be there. Like, I live in the Fort Worth area and I see 80-year-olds repping their TCU gear. So I'm like, okay, that's where I need to be. That's where the happiness is coming from. And so my senior year of high school, my dance team, we actually danced at like the TCU homecoming halftime. And like really from that moment, I kind of decided, okay, this is where I want to be at. Everyone at the game looks so ecstatic and just so out there. And, and every time that I came here on a tour, visited campus, everyone seemed happy. Like nobody was miserable. Nobody looked like they hated their life and hated being at TCU. And so, and I think like, once I came here, I really got to experience that just because of all the resources and student orgs. And there's always something going on at TCU, like the petting zoos and the carnivals that we have. And it's all free. Like you can't beat free. And it's just, there's always just something to do that contributes to my happiness and overall well-being. So.
Love it. Love it. Stone, what's your story?
I usually avoid telling this on tours because I think it sounds too cheesy, like it's like a paid ad almost. My second week of going to school at TCU, I called my mom freaking out about how nice everyone was. Because it felt like if you've ever been to Disney, everybody there is smiling, but they're being paid to, so it feels super fake. And it kind of felt like that, where I was calling her like, it's weird. Like I'm in the Twilight Zone. Like go to the cafeteria and people talk to me and people want to sit with me and it's like strangers. And it was just so different to like how my public high school in Houston was, where everyone like just disliked you for existing. And now I'm here and everyone's just like so happy. And it freaked me out. It scared me.
Wow. I think that says as much about your high school as it does about TCU.
It does.
Yeah. I always say like, and kind of like what you're saying, Stone, it sounds fake, it sounds made up, but this is really true. I've witnessed this happen on so many occasions where someone who looks lost is approached by somebody who knows the territory here and will say, what are you looking for? And someone will say, oh, can you point out the library? And instead of saying, yeah, you walk down this street and hang a left, and then it's the first building on the right, they'll say, let me take you there. And it's a subtle difference, but it is so important to making this culture what it is. We have something here that we call the connected culture, and there's so much truth to that. When I arrived at TCU, and I've been here a long time now, it was evident to me that this is unlike other places, which is not to say other places aren't great. They are, but there is something different about TCU. So I'm super stoked that you all have had that experience so far. Okay, Michael asks, any of you play club sports like soccer against other schools? I'm asking primarily about men's soccer, but I suppose we could expand to just club in general, or what has your experience with athletics been, if any? Do any of you have any experience with athletics? How about intramurals? Any of you play intramurals?
Yeah, I play intramural football here. The second place champions. We went to the Super Bowl but lost. So I don't brag about that too much, but you are talking to the second place in flag football champ. Yeah, no, it was great. You only have like one game a week, so it's like not really hard to fit in your schedule, and practice is kind of up for you and your friends to plan. So if you wanted to have daily practice, you could, but you probably don't. Yeah, it's super easy. Just sign up on the rec website.
Yeah. And Michael, to answer your question, we do have club sports here, a number of them, and you are playing against other universities. And the only difference is it's not under the NCAA umbrella. It's not through our athletic department. They are clubs that are separate. So they don't receive sort of that same kind of funding. You would pay for it to participate to the extent that money would be required. But it is played at a very high level. The people who are playing club sports are people who were varsity athletes in high school, and they take it very seriously. So it's a lot of fun, but not nearly the time commitment that playing a varsity sport at TCU would require. Okay, Palmer asks, I'm interested in studying abroad. Is there a year that most students tend to do this? So I'm curious about any of y'all's experience with studying abroad, and if you personally haven't, maybe what you've heard from your friends. So who wants to jump in first?
I actually just got back from being abroad. So nice. I went to London last semester, and I studied abroad my sophomore year, spring semester, which I would say isn't as common. I feel like most people or most of my friends are planning to go their junior spring semester. Of course, it's like up to you. I talked to my advisor, and because I'm on the pre-law track, it just made more sense for my academics to go my sophomore year. So that's when I went. But we also have like week-long programs throughout the year. So my freshman year roommate was pre-med, and she can't do a whole semester away from TCU. And so she's done week-long programs over winter break or spring break. We also have options in May or in the summer. So there are lots of different time commitments that you can do abroad. You just chat with your advisor about it if you're interested, and they're really good about helping you fit that in your schedule and talk about your different options.
And Amy, was your trip, was that a TCU in program or was it with another? Okay.
Yeah, it was TCU in London. Mm-hmm.
Got it. So we have what we call in programs. Those are TCU programs run in other countries, and there are about a half dozen or so of those. And then if you would prefer to go somewhere else, or the timing doesn't work out, or it meshes with your major to do a different program, we can connect with another program. So be sort of like out of network, but it would work roughly the same way. All the credits would still transfer. And the cool thing about studying abroad is the cost of attendance is the same. You pay for, airfare and so forth. But, if you have a scholarship, if you have financial aid, that would carry with you. part of the mission of TCU is this idea of global citizenship. And there's no better way to become a global citizen than by spending time in a different part of the globe. And so that's awesome that you had that experience. Anyone else want to chime in on the study abroad? Okay. That's totally fine. I have to say, I'm glad that I'm glad that you asked about this, Palmer, because one of probably my only regret from college is that I did not study abroad. It is going to be very difficult later in life to uproot yourself and immerse yourself in an entirely different culture. So I am a huge proponent of it and try to encourage as many students to do it as can. And I would say a huge percentage of TCU students will do it. In fact, because we make it relatively easy. Emmy talked about some of the week-long or just multi-week programs as opposed to full semester programs. Most students will have some kind of abroad experience. If it's whether it's a semester, a year, or something else. I would say that unlike other institutions, we see a huge difference in the number of students who study abroad fall versus spring, because students don't want to miss football here. So we don't have nearly as many students who will do the fall semester away. Many more will do spring, which is Natalie, that's a perfect. I didn't even read your question, so I'm glad I answered it. Emmy, I don't know if that was part of your calculus.
It was.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, since we mentioned football, and I want to note that we had like an unprecedented year across TCU athletics. Our baseball team made it to the College World Series. Our men's indoor tennis team won the national championship. Our women's soccer team went to the Sweet 16 and advanced to the NCAAs for the 7th year in a row. Men's basketball team went to the NCAA tournament in back-to-back years for the first time in like 70 years. I mean, we've just had this sort of banner year. I'm curious from your student. I know how awesome it was as a staff member. I can only imagine what it was like to be a student here in this most magical athletic season. Can you guys talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, being in the band, this is the peak of every band kid's dream. I marched the national championship. I mean, I texted everybody like, oh my God, I'm about to step on the field at SoFi and play halftime for the national champion. Like, it's this little school in Fort Worth was at the national champ. Like, even in the stands, as we were like setting up, a lot of us were just laughing. Like, we're here right now. Like, because I had friends from all these other schools. I won't try to name drop, but there's these really big schools that were really mad that we were there. And so it was really, really cool. And then I went to basketball band as well. Got a paid trip to Colorado for March Madness. So yeah, it was a really cool sports year.
That's awesome. I was at the national championship game. You all sounded incredible. So well done. What about anyone else?
This being my first year and literally all of the athletic teams being amazing, it was just, I have nothing else to compare it to. And then on top of that, all of our athletic home games are free. And like I said, can't beat free 99. And so, yeah, good right there. And also, I always make a joke on the tours that our football games are like Southern fashion shows. So it's the perfect time for everybody to dress up. And it's just so much fun.
Yes, it is. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I definitely share that sentiment with Adrian. Coming into this crazy football season, all these crazy seasons, honestly, it has not only taught me a lot about sports, because I wasn't a big sports guy. It took me a second to kind of learn how football worked. And believe it or not, like a year ago, I did not know anything about football. And now I'm learning. I'll say that I'm still learning, but I know quite a few things now.
Well, yeah. Did you participate in Football 101 last summer? The program. No. So for international students, during their orientation, we actually will, since American football is not so ubiquitous outside the United States, we actually do a training for our international students, and they tend to love it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'll definitely make sure the international students coming in this year know about that.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to pause for another dad joke. Okay. So we'll see who can Stone defend his championship. Or, okay. What did the horse say after it tripped? What did the horse say after it tripped?
I don't know.
Come on, y'all. Help! I've fallen and I can't giddy up. Okay, you can take that with you. Just give me credit. Okay, so Mackenzie asks a really good question. What was your most difficult transition from high school to your first year of college?
I would say the schoolwork, because personally in high school, I think that a lot of it is like memorizing the material. But I think when you come to college, you have to understand and be able to explain the material, which adds like a whole other depth to it. You can't just regurgitate the information. And also, the amount of time that you have to put into classes, like in college classes, you really have to put your full effort into it or else you will not succeed. Like you have to be 100% into the class, I would say.
Yeah, I
There was
think
this
for
crazy
me,
virus.
oh, sorry. You go.
No, go. Yeah, there was this virus thing that happened my freshman year. That was really, really difficult. That's why I laughed when this question was posed. Other than that, yeah, I agree with Adrian. I had to like actually study, like for real study for the first time in my life, not like in high school where you like do 1 page of homework and you're like, I studied.
Yeah.
No, you like actually have to study, which is hard.
And then kind of related to that is like time management. I'm really bad with managing my time. And so like using a planner like daily and using Google Calendar has saved me for sure, but definitely like learning to use that every day. Because if you don't, then you're probably going to forget to turn in an assignment or that you have an exam because professors don't remind you of upcoming assignments or exams the way they would in high school. So that's definitely like a big part of the transition to college for sure.
Any advice for you, Ian? Yeah.
Self-discipline. That is one thing that took me like a second to develop in college, just because once you step foot on campus, it does feel like a very magical thing that is happening. To a certain extent, it felt like a summer camp to me at first. It feels like something that is very short and super fun, so on and so forth. But you have to remember that you're here for college and you're here to get an education. And part of getting that education is kind of educating yourself on those good habits that you have to foster kind of for like a few weeks at first. And once they're set in place and grounded, those will pretty much carry you throughout college. So making sure you wake up early, you eat very well, or eat healthy at least. You dedicate time, quiet time, pretty much for your studies. You make sure that you're ahead of your assignments. You pretty much have good scheduling or time management habits, basically, like Emmy said. All of those will kind of play in your success, hopefully in having a successful journey in college. So.
Nice. Okay, Sarah asks, can you talk about the honors program? What qualifications are you looking for? So I'll start by answering the part of the question about qualifications. And then, Emmy, you lived in Milton Daniels, so are you in the honors college?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so then I'll let you handle the first part of the question. So in terms of qualifications, when a student applies to TCU, after you submit the application for admission, you're going to get a confirmation message and credentials to log into the student portal. From there, you're going to see a link to the application for the John V. Roach Honors College. And what it is that we're looking for is a thirst for knowledge, a real love of learning. It's not just that you have great grades. I mean, that's sort of obvious that we want students who have done well in school, but it goes beyond that because a lot of students do well in school because they're diligent students. But not necessarily because they crave sort of this acquisition of knowledge. And that's what we're looking for particularly through the writing samples. We ask Honors College students to respond to two questions on that supplemental application. And then those applications are actually reviewed by Honors College faculty. They're the ones who are making decisions on who is admitted to that college. And when you're in the Honors College, while it is a distinct academic unit, you're simultaneously enrolled in another college, whichever college is sort of where your home major is. So in Emmy's case, she's a political science major, so she's a student in the Adran College of Liberal Arts and a student in the John V. Roach Honors College. So Emmy, can you talk about what your experience has been like as an honors student?
Yeah, of course. It's been really amazing. I always recommend the program to anybody who asks. It's just a very tight-knit community, which is always really cool. It's just a great way to have very like niche opportunities around campus. My honors professor, my sophomore year, fall semester, was actually Dean Pitcock, who is the dean of the Honors College. And because he knew I was a political science major, he actually recommended me to go sit in on a Q&A with a former Speaker of the House that was reserved for business graduate students. But because he knew that was something I'd be interested in, he recommended me to go sit in on that really cool Q&A. And so there's just very cool opportunities through honors to kind of connect with faculty and your peers in maybe a different way than you could in a regular class. Our class sizes are really small. So a lot of my honors classes have had only about 8 students, and they're just very discussion based. So you'll read a lot of the same materials, and then it'll be student facilitated discussions. And so it's just kind of a different layout than maybe a typical class would be, where it's more lecture class or your class sizes is going to be a little bit bigger. But all of the honors classes are amazing. They're typically more niche options than maybe like a generic like English class would be. So it's just very cool kind of add on to your regular academic track.
Nice. Anyone else? I'm not sure if any of the rest of you are involved in honors or anything to add. Okay, great. Okay, Juliana asks, what has been your favorite event put on by the End? And are any of you involved with that? So first of all, can someone tell our audience what the End is, and then how that programming works and what you all have been involved with?
So the End, basically, they bring celebrities onto campus, and my favorite event that they had, they actually brought Kesha to come have a concert here in the Commons this past fall semester. And that definitely was like the highlight of my fall semester, because I've been listening to Kesha since since I can remember, and so seeing her like right in front of me was just surreal.
That's awesome. And the End, what it stands for, it's like short for the weekend. So the End is the group that puts on events that occur on the weekend. And you know, we added this probably more than you all even realized, because this happened way before you got to TCU. We noticed that there was a sort of a dearth of activities that were going on the weekends, and students would just sort of funnel to sort of, you know, just smaller house parties or whatever things off campus. And we wanted things for students to be able to do to stay connected in bigger ways on campus. And we noticed that there was a much higher level of engagement with just the entire student experience by keeping students here on the weekend. So again, this was a long time ago, and it's worked. So the End has been sort of a highlight of student experiences during their time here. Okay, I want to. Alexis asked sort of a follow-up question about honors. Can someone not in the honors college apply after they start their first semester? And the answer is yes. There is an opportunity to gain entrance to the John V. Roach Honors College after your first semester at TCU, and that's going to be eligibility will be based on your first semester GPA. As long as you've got a 3.5 GPA, you're eligible to apply. It doesn't guarantee admission, but I want to say the last time I talked to Dr. Pitcock about this, I think about a third of current students who applied were admitted to the honors college. Okay, let's see. AB asks, what would you say is the ratio of Greek versus non-Greek at TCU? And do any of you participate in the Greek system here? So let's start there. Are any of you part of a Greek letter organization? Okay, Ed, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So pretty much TCU is 50% Greek, 50% not. I've seen both facets basically of being Greek and being non-Greek. First semester I was non-Greek basically, then I rushed in the spring. So yes, here at TCU for gentlemen, we do have fall and spring rush, and I'm not entirely sure how sororities work. That's kind of a different realm, I would say. For the gents, basically, it is definitely a very fun experience, especially coming from a different background, I would say, or cultural background specifically. It was a lot to take on initially and to try to understand. But pretty much once you get pretty much to the bottom of it and you understand how it all works, it's honestly very fun. Not only do you get to connect with a great group of guys, basically, but you'll also get to do stuff together. You'll do a lot of philanthropy events together, basically. And it kind of helps with fostering community and overall just being a good, active group of people.
Yeah, I think it's important to note what Greek means, because we all have images in our head of what sort of stereotypical Greek-led organizations look like, perhaps based on how they're portrayed in media. We actually have a number of different Greek councils at TCU. So yes, there is the Interfraternity Council, there is Panhellenic Council, there is the National Panhellenic Council, which is the Divine Nine. We've got the Multicultural Greek Council. So there are different types of Greek organizations, even within this sort of larger umbrella. And as Ed said, it's about 50-50. It's a little bit more for women, a little bit less for men. And it is entirely up to you how you want to stay connected. You could tell by the response to the question I asked of who's involved that some students do it, some students don't do it. And I think everybody here would say they feel very connected to TCU in a social way. And the absence of being part of the Greek system does not make you any sort of a social outcast or anything like that. Would you all agree with me on that? Okay, good stuff. Okay, Andrew asks what majors are popular at TCU. And I can tell you sort of big picture, the most popular major at TCU is, if we were to sort of lump all of the business students together, when we look at incoming students, because everyone starts as a pre-business major before they decide if they're going to do finance or information systems or what have you, that would be the most popular. Other popular ones here include nursing, biology, or generally speaking, anything in the health sciences is very popular. One of the most popular majors for incoming students is pre-major. And that is our very fancy way of saying undecided. So you don't have to know what you want to do with the rest of your life when you're 17 or 18 years old. That's very common. But we have over 115 majors at TCU. So it doesn't matter whether you are in a major that has 700 other students or whether you're in a major, Stone, how many physics majors are there at TCU? Do you know? Like
in my class, there's, including me, there are 6 astrophysics majors in my year.
Yeah, right. So, but that doesn't in any way suggest that the major isn't really strong, right? I mean, do you feel like you're getting a great education as an astrophysics major?
We have kind of some like celebrities in the astronomy world that work here, like people on the new telescope that just launched, new observatories. Like we kind of have some big names in astronomy. Yeah, awesome. What are some of the majors that I mean, I assume you hear sort of the same ones that I mentioned. Those are a lot of what your friends are doing. What else is popular among your friend group? Adrian, what about you?
My major?
Well, popular majors, like among your friends.
I would say a lot of them are pre-health or in STEM. A majority of my friends are, like some of my best friends, mechanical engineering, pre-health. All my roommates were pre-health, like my first year. And then this year, my roommate is actually going to be interior design and I'm graphic design. And our programs are pretty small, but they're really amazing. Just like Stone said, just because they're small doesn't mean that it's bad. Like we have celebrities basically in the design world. Like one of my professors, he actually created the illustration for I think the 2021 like TCU magazine. And so he was my drawing instructor. And so I was like, wow, that's crazy.
That's awesome. Which professor was that?
Charles Varner.
Yeah, very cool.
He did the one with the big balloon and all that stuff. And he actually did the one for 2021. It was a recreation of the one he created back in the 70s when he came to TCU as a design student.
Nice. We have awesome graphic design faculty. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, Stone, why is it that physics assignments are like 2 problems and they take you like 3 weeks to do? Can you explain that to me?
I've been asking myself that question for 4 years, Heath. I couldn't tell you.
Okay, good to know. We'll come up with an answer to that, I'm sure. Okay, let's see. We have just a couple of minutes left. Let's see, what should we get to next? Okay, Natalie asked a really good question. Is it hard to find a tutor if I'm struggling in a particular class? Can any of you talk about your experiences, like whether it was finding a tutor or working with the Writing Center or something like just resources that you've been able to take advantage of here, academic resources?
I'm super good friends with my physics tutor. I do research with her right now. We're technically coworkers, but she is the tutor for the whole physics department. So every department has their own like student tutor area that is free. It's just pure tutoring. It was super, super helpful for me when I was a freshman, but now, even though I'm not officially the physics tutor on campus, because I'm really good friends with the physics tutor, I do a lot of physics tutoring on campus, as well as for our club. I am the president of our physics honor society here. So there's a lot of like peer help there as well.
Nice. Anyone else have any thoughts on academic resources?
I would say my highlight was definitely the mandatory office hours that every professor here at TCU offers. So if you take a look at your syllabus, there should be a specific time and specific place where you can actually meet with your professor and just pretty much walk into their office, ask them any questions. If you'd like to get to know them, that'd also be a great opportunity. And honestly, that's how I got to know most of my professors who I still talk to this day, and we still exchange emails, and hopefully we get to work together sometime in the near future. So
Very nice. Okay, we have just a couple of minutes left. So here's how I'd love to end with some sort of parting words from you all. We already talked about favorite tradition at TCU, but maybe you could talk about, in your opinion, what makes TCU unique, or why did you end up choosing TCU over other colleges? Maybe answering one of those questions. And we started with Stone, so maybe this time we'll start with Adrian.
Okay, I know we always say this and it kind of sounds cheesy, but I truly think that TCU is the definition of a small school with a big school feel. I kind of already talked about earlier in the live how, like, whenever I wanted to pick a school, I knew that I wanted to be where they had a lot of pride and where everyone was happy. I really truly got to experience that. And I'm one of those students that I saw, when I was coming here. And as I was mentioning, there's just so much to do on campus. And like one of my favorite things that I'm a part of is like my mariachi group. And so, like I didn't even know that we offered that. And then, I learned how to play a whole instrument and, got to, share culture with other people who are on campus. And I've seen the impact that it's made on other people's lives. And I just really admire that about TCU.
By the way, Adrian, you know that Jesus on our staff is in a mariachi band, right?
Yeah, he actually took our photos for us at Frogstock.
Nice.
And I talked to him about joining our group on campus this upcoming semester. So,
okay. Yeah. Okay, nice. Ian, what about you?
Sorry, I blinked. What was the question again?
So yeah, either your favorite thing about TCU, not necessarily favorite tradition, but just favorite, gotcha. What makes TCU special, or why ultimately did you decide to come here and not go somewhere else?
Gotcha. So it's definitely the community for me when it comes to TCU. I feel like moving in from a different country, I needed a place where I could truly feel at home and pretty much have a safety net. And I feel like throughout the whole application process, communicating with TCU, so on and so forth, they've shown, or pretty much the admissions department really have shown a great level of care towards the individual, and pretty much throughout the communications, the calls, pretty much the Zoom interviews, so on and so forth, I could pretty much pick up or pretty much have this impression that TCU is all about the individual, and they do care about you as a human being, and not just as a number, basically. And that's one of the things that definitely got me sold on TCU, I would say, at an early stage. And they've honestly demonstrated that throughout all the collaboration that we've done to give me a better financial aid, to give me pretty much to be able to attend TCU. And again, I'll vouch to TCU's generosity. There's a lot of scholarships that we offered here, and pretty much by just reaching out to my counselor, I've been able to work out the best offer that enabled me to attend this school. So I'll definitely say community is the greatest thing that we have here at TCU. You'll easily make friends everywhere. And honestly, it didn't take me more than a few days to find a good group of friends. So
awesome. Stone, you get the final word.
Cool. Well, besides my favorite color being purple, I would usually say like staff relationship, which is part of that community. COVID was really hard as a freshman, and I was like not super connected. I wasn't, had a hard time making friends with masks. One night I'd even told my roommate, like, man, I'd be surprised if the band director even knew my name, which just felt really crazy because I was super disconnected. And that very night I was working a basketball band game. I took one step into the arena. The band director walks right up to me and says, "Hi, Stone, glad you're here." and shakes my hand, and I just barely held back the tears at a basketball game. But for me, my decision to like stay here really came middle of my freshman year right then, because I was like, not super into it, but then I was like, oh my God, like I have to be here. And that just like, I don't know, kind of still makes me like almost cry. That's just like, that was so special for me.
That's awesome. I love that
and I look
story.
great in purple.
Yeah, you do. We all do. Let's be honest.
Yeah, beautiful.
Well, that was great. Hour flew by just like it always does. I want to thank you all for your generosity of time and spirit, and thank you for giving everything you do for TCU. You're the best. Thank you all for joining us. We had a great time. Please come back again next month when we have another exciting edition of our Facebook Live. Until then, go Frogs.
Go